All right, let's see if we can make this work. I have definitely messed up a little bit because I wanted to stream from my phone, but I couldn't attach to the scheduled stream. So I'm gonna have to somehow let people know in the scheduled stream that they should come over to this one. Um, but at least we're up and running. So I'm just gonna find the chat for the other one. Please bear with me. All right, let's see. Started I'm just writing in the other chat. Please find your way there. All right. There we go. Okay, well, seems like some people are dropping in. Very, very nice. Well, hello, friends. Welcome back to SerenityOS office hours. It is Friday, but it's a little bit out of the ordinary because I am cat sitting. This is my mom's couch. She's left town for a bit, so I have to take care of her cat. Her cat is currently ignoring me, otherwise I would be showing her off. But now she's giving me the stink eye because I said that, but maybe she'll show up. Tim asks if this is not yet in content announced. No, it's not. If let me go ahead and post it actually. This is very disorganized compared to what we usually do, but I'm a little bit out of my element, so please bear with me. How the heck do I even find the URL? Or if Linus is here, he could also post it, but I am not exactly sure if he is. Da, da, da. All right, let's try and post this. No, wait, that's not, damn it. That's not even the right URL. Okay. Ooh, made it, I think. Okay. Well, 32 people have found their way here, so clearly something is working. Okay, so starting over. Well, hello friends. Welcome back to SerenityOS office hours. It is Friday. I'm not at my regular computer, so I don't have all of the amenities, but I'm here to chat, and we're gonna do what we always do. Just keep in mind that I can't as easily look things up in the code. I'm gonna try to get, actually, I do have a crappy laptop with me, so I'm gonna get the chat up on that so I can at least read it in big letters, because the text on the phone is a little bit on the small side. And let's not make the rookie mistake of getting microphone feedback. There we go. All right. This is so not pro. Come on, where's the zoom? Here we go. Ah, finally, everything is totally excellent. Okay, so, hey everybody, Flo Writes Code asks, I really miss the coding videos. Have you taken a small break from them? That is kind of true. So this month I worked on the ACID 3 test, which we passed just a few days ago, and I kind of just decided to put my head down and focus on that. So I just put video making aside and did what I had to do to get it going. It was a lot of fun, pretty intense, and now after that's done, I feel very relieved, I guess, because of the intensity I put into it. So the last couple of days have been a bit, I don't know, a bit different. Takes me a moment to readjust. But we're on a good track, and definitely gonna get back to video making. So starting yesterday, made the monthly update video. as we always do. Can't miss that. Also, damn it, I can't scroll in this thing. Oh, Andrew Castler was asking, is this the new open office for Surface Software AB? I guess so. I guess so. Yeah, hey everybody. Entrees ask, any plans to turn the SerenityOS web browser to a separate project that will compile for other operating systems? It could be super useful to have an easy to embed web browser for embedded systems and video games. We don't really have plans for anything one way or the other in the SerenityOS project. If somebody wants something to happen, it's basically up to them to make it happen. That's how we do everything. So if somebody feels strongly about bringing the browser to another platform, they are welcome to begin that work. Let's see. Tushar says, thanks for adding Wordle to Serenity. Thanks to that, I've been able to convince my work to migrate from Linux desktop to Serenity. Very cool. That is very cool. Congratulations on making the switch. Pranay says, is it April Fool's video? No, this is just a live stream from my mom's house. That's why it's a bit different. Streaming from my phone with a crop top on my side. So forgive the ad hoc nature of the video. Askarbi says, are there any big/larger sections of the browser that haven't been touched yet, and what are those? I'm thinking in relation to being fully HTML/JavaScript spec compliant. Sure, there are many parts of the web platform that we haven't even started implementing. WebGL, web audio, media element support, all kinds of things. If you look around the engine for a few minutes, you will find large gaps in functionality. So take a look if you're interested. Plenty of things you can do. Shamtown84 says, what sort of mechanisms need to be developed for existing systems honed in order to enable kernel/user space live patching, i.e. making changes to the system without rebooting? Well, I don't know. I've never really thought much about how one would implement live patching. I suppose you would want, for the kernel, I guess the kernel is the hardest part, right? Because user space, you can sort of, you can do like one of those problems when you're bringing 3 animals across the river and and one of them might eat the other ones. It's sort of like that with user space. You just have to switch one process at a time, but for the kernel, it's trickier. So I assume you would want some kind of way to exec into a new kernel image while transferring process state, thread state, stuff like that, using some sort of protocol so that it can be inherited across the kernel image execution boundary. But I don't know the specifics. I think there are many systems that do that though, so you could probably look at how they achieve it and what type of protocols they use, and go from there. But it's not something I have an active clue about. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Everything CS says, it wouldn't be Serenity if it wasn't ad hoc. Yeah, indeed. Satusin says, amazing work by you all on the web browser. Has been lovely to see Serenity popping up in the news for on a few sites this week. Yeah, it's been really fun to see the browser progress getting some wider recognition. It's it's a personal pet peeve of mine whenever I see people arguing that you couldn't possibly build a browser, that you can't do that unless you are a mega corporation with millions of dollars and hundreds of employees. I always find that very silly and a very limited belief. And even though we're nowhere near feature parity with any of the major engines, it's starting to become visible even to outside observers that we are on track to something here, right? And I really hope, I really enjoy seeing that we can change some minds with our work. Let's see. Oh, damn it. I have to keep scrolling up. I should probably make the font smaller. No, that's print screen. Damn it. Luna Coco said, "You're seeming a lot more comfortable with this kind of thing now compared to how you were a while ago. It's cool to see how you've grown at that, and I'm rather happy for you." Well, thank you, Luna. I'm definitely a lot more comfortable with this kind of thing. I originally, like, this is actually where I started live streaming the first time I was on this couch, and since that first time, I've certainly become more comfortable with it, and I don't get that same stomach cramp-like feeling anymore, and it's easy to just chat. And now it's more like the technical differences today are tripping me up a bit, but emotionally it's totally fine. So I appreciate that you're happy for me. I'm happy about that too. Not the other one asks, have you ever denied a commit because it was in odds with your idea of what Serenity should be? Yes, of course. We've denied plenty of commits. Not every code change is accepted. We have a very high acceptance rate, but I don't think that's necessarily because we are overly permissive or overly accepting, but rather I think we have managed to broadcast a very strong idea of what the system is or wants to be, and that allows people to come with mostly good changes, even like before they show them to anybody. And the YouTube channel has absolutely helped with that, right? Because it has allowed me to continuously broadcast my idea of what SerenityOS is or should be or could be. And people have a very strong sense of that. Whereas, you know, if you were to try to contribute to an open source project where you have no idea what the original author had in mind, and it's just a faceless project on GitHub, you might have a harder time knowing that you're making something that would fit. Anyway, let's see. Vishnu says, is it possible to JIT the JavaScript bytecode in SerenityOS browser using LLVM? Not sure how the dynamic type stuff would work. I mean, in theory, you could JIT using LLVM. That was something that they did in JavaScript core, but it was in one version of Safari, but then it was backed out again because it was just too heavy, and the compile times of the LLVM-based JIT, they were just crazy long. And this is my mom's cat, Kiara. She is very hairy. I sometimes wonder what she looks like under all of this hair, but I hope I never find out. Anyways, let's see if she wants to stick around. Oh, there she goes. I hope she doesn't tear down my extremely ad hoc camera stand. Okay, just sit there. Let's see. Skyrising said, I think the way Linux does it is having nops at the beginning of each patchable function that can be replaced by a jump to the patched function. Okay, so that would be like live patching individual kernel functions, I guess. That's definitely something you could do. I know Windows has been doing that for a very long time, but I think if you wanted to sort of live replace the entire kernel image, that would require a bit more of an invasive solution. But yeah, like live patching individual syscalls or something like that, that's kind of cool. But again, it's not something I have looked at in any serious capacity. James Bellamy says, is there an ACID 4 or a newer test than ACID 3? Well, there isn't any ACID test after the third one, but the web platform tests, yeah, that's what it's called, WPT project is a huge testing effort which contains thousands of tests, and it's sort of the thing that we have to start caring about after ACID 3. And we don't yet have a test runner for it. We can run individual tests from WPT by opening them in the browser, and we're already passing many of them, but what we really need to make good progress there is to build a runner which allows us to automatically run all of the web platform tests and get some kind of a score. So that's something that a bunch of people have been talking about it recently, like in the last couple of days, but I don't know if there's any active, like specifically targeted effort towards it. Maybe more like fact finding, trying to figure out what we need to do. But yeah, that's the next thing, WPT. Let's see. Ali says, we kind of are a mega corporation with hundreds of employees. We just pay them with yak emotes and poggies. Yes, that is accurate. in terms of how many people we have working on this, we are pretty large. You know, there's hundreds of people who put their time and effort into Serenity. But the difference, of course, with a megacorp is that nobody's telling you what to do. So it's really just a big herd of cats, and I'm trying to attract at least some of them in the same direction, but but you can never really know for sure what ideas people are going to have and what they're trying to do. But I think that's the beautiful thing about it also, that it adds this beautiful chaos to the project. And something I always talk about is how it's so good that everybody does stuff that they love to do. Everybody does what they're interested in rather than what they're being told. Let's see. Stefan says, Stefan rolled off the screen, dang it. Stefan said, hi Andreas, are you aiming for SerenityOS to be self-hosted in real hardware? Sure, eventually for myself, but it's not a big goal on my part. I'm busy building all this other stuff. Some people feel that running on bare metal hardware is really important and they want to do it as soon as possible. So I encourage those people to work on that. I don't see it as particularly valuable at this stage for me to sort of degrade my own development experience by forcing myself to use Serenity. I don't mind using Linux while improving Serenity until it's at the point where it becomes a no-brainer that of course I want to switch because it's more convenient on Serenity. It's just that's not where it is right now. For anybody who is interested in running on bare metal right now, you can just join the bare metal channel on Discord. Actually, now I'm realizing that the question was about self-hosting and not bare metal, or wait, was it even? Self-hosted in real hardware. Oh, I guess it's a bit of both. For self-hosting, that's also something we had self-hosting some years ago, but then a bunch of things changed about our build system, and now we don't have self-hosting again. But it's just a list of things that need to be done. I think there's a GitHub issue about it, actually. But it's not something I actively work on. If you ask on Discord, you can find a bunch of people who are much more interested in that than I am, and they can give you much more detailed and enthusiastic answers. And then people are commenting on my cup, the size of it. Well, it's actually my mom's cup. It was the biggest one she had. I figured I'm just gonna have one cup, so I'll choose the biggest one. Pretty good. Satisin has to go, but wishes us a good weekend. Well, have a good weekend, you too. Hope it's a lovely one. Abhishek says, were you always vegetarian? You mentioned it in a previous stream, or did you turn vegetarian as part of rehab therapy? I have always been a vegetarian, so I was born into a vegetarian family. My parents were vegetarian, my grandparents were vegetarian on one side. My other grandparents were not vegetarian, but my family and one set of grandparents. And so I grew up vegetarian, and I had a brief phase when I was 25 or something like that, where I decided to try one fish and one meat meal. And I also tried a McDonald's burger and a few other small things. Not many things. It was like in the span of a month or something like that. I tried a couple of different meat and fish things. And I just did not see the appeal at all. So I decided, nah, just gonna go back to vegetarian. And it's been working out well ever since. And oh, we have Alchemet. joining the yak herd. Thank you very much for the support. Now you have a gold yak next to your name. Fantastic. Yeah. Wait, let's see. Let me not miss stuff. So Andrew was asking, how many tea bags does it take to have tea in that giant mug that actually tastes like tea instead of scented water? Well, it actually takes just a single tea bag. I have this Lady Grey from Twinings that my mom gets because I tell my mom that I like Earl Grey tea, and then she buys Lady Grey tea because that's the one that I like. There's some mom logic there, but it's close enough. Lady Grey is, as far as I understand, Lady Grey is a Nordic market product that they made specifically for the Nordic market, at least originally, and it's a bit like lighter or less intense than Earl Grey. It's perfectly fine. Let's see. James Bellamy says, I just wish I could work on Serenity more, but work gets in the way. Not enough time for hobby programming due to work programming. Oh yeah, I remember that feeling quite well. Of course, as you know, I used to do Serenity as a hobby, and now I do it as a non-hobby, and it's pretty good. Now, I don't quite exactly remember what hobby programming versus work programming feels like anymore. I just remember that they used to be separated, but now they are one and the same. So far, so good. So far, so good. Arcane Flight says, Andreas, ever thought of becoming a bodybuilder and becoming a huge Viking? Sure, that was perhaps something that entered into my mind in the past, but I got myself pretty heavy one time with muscles and steroids, and I didn't like being so heavy. And I never got huge by any means, but I was way bigger than I could imagine dealing with. So I think I was like 110 kilos or something like that, and it was just too much. And I want to stay far away from those kind of numbers. So being a huge person is not really for me. Let's see. One says, "Hi Andreas. Now that you're a rock star, you should do a world tour talking about Serenity and come to Mexico to eat some enchiladas." Well, that does sound tasty. But I'm not sure I even know what an enchilada is. I've had a lot of different Mexican dishes, but enchiladas slips my mind. Definitely enjoy many different Mexican dishes, but should I do a world tour? I don't really have the budget to do a world tour, I have to admit. Maybe one day I will. We'll see. Skychip asks, yo, is this April Fool's special? Nope, not really. Just me sitting here with my mom's cat. Just have to watch my mom's cat and decided to try to stream anyway. Vishnu is asking, how much time do you spend reviewing / spending time on PRs versus coding by yourself? I think I probably spend 15% of my time on other people's code at the moment. But it goes up and down. Depends on what kind of stuff is in the queue, what kind of stuff people want help with. But I don't just do PR reviews, but I also like talk a lot to people about stuff that they're working on, and try to, I don't know, I try to guide people who want the guidance, but I also try to remind myself to not over guide. It is very nice when people get to be autonomous, I think. So that's something that I'm always conscious of, trying to guide, I don't know, guide as little as possible while still achieving what I want to achieve. I don't know how to articulate that really well. But yeah, I would say about 15% or so at the moment. And the rest of it is just me working on stuff myself. And then Desert Fish was saying, don't keep the tea bag soaking all the time. Well, you're not my mom, Desert Fish. I'm gonna keep it in there until the tea's all out. Let's see, Ominous Liticas says, any experience with C++ modules? Has anyone talked about developing a Serenity-specific C++ compiler? I know we have our own standard library. I have no experience with C++ modules. I am interested to see what happens with them. At the moment, my understanding is that we're essentially waiting for CMake support, or CMake to become aware of modules and allow us to use that. So I have no clue what the status of that is, but that is my understanding. Let's see. Shamtown84 says, from my partner, do you have a preference for topics of questions asked? You seem to treat them all equally gracefully. I don't really have a preference. That's kind of open to any question, really. I feel like if I'm going to make myself available, I'm going to make my best effort to just be real. And if somebody has, as long as the questions are either about me or about SerenityOS or programming, that's fine. You know, there are some areas where I guess I wouldn't want to talk about, like I wouldn't want to tell you details about my siblings or parents or other people that I know personally because they're not here. But as long as it's questions within areas where I feel like I am allowed to speak freely, then I'm going to try to speak freely. Alexander says, do you have funding for working on SerenityOS? Do you plan on making money from it? I do have funding, actually. It's completely donation based. So I'm on GitHub sponsors. I'm on Patreon. I also have a PayPal donation link. And as of recently, you can also become a member of this YouTube channel. If you'll notice some people in the chat have a little golden yak image next to their name. Those are channel supporters. So thank you very much to the golden yak team or herd or squad or whatever you're supposed to call that thing. So yeah, it's all donation based, really. And also I do have a little store where I'm selling SerenityOS themed merch, but that is by far the smallest income stream. And you know, I'm not becoming rich by any means. I don't want to give anybody the illusion that I'm making fat stacks over here. But it's enough money to buy groceries and, you know, keep the heat on in the winter, and get nice food for my cat. So that's the stuff I care about. Don't really have any fancy desires. So it's good. And we keep trucking. Let's see. A bunch of people saying that they actually keep the tea bag, or somebody removes the tea bag. Yeah, everybody has their own strat for the tea bag, right? I just I like to keep it in. It's I don't know. I like how the flavor gets progressively more serious. Andrew asks, do you think that someday Serenity can become a full-fledged OS? I mean, that depends. What do you mean by a full-fledged operating system? If you mean, can it become an operating system that you run on your computer and browse the web and send your emails and maybe write some code and draw some pictures? Sure, absolutely. But it depends on what you mean by full-fledged. Salman says, can you recommend some books on firmware/low-level programming and also to learn C++ enough to effectively contribute to Serenity and etc.? I have no idea what books to read. I haven't read any books recently, and I couldn't tell you. I'm not really a book guy, so I try not to recommend things that I don't understand or I haven't checked out for myself. So sorry about that, but I'm sure that you can find a million books to try out. And anyway, John Pycroft says, do you have any advice for novice programmers that code for fun to get into paid work programming? Sure, apply for a job. If you want to get serious about it, then apply for a job, and just going through the interview process will give you an idea of what might be expected of you at the kind of job that you might want to have. And then maybe, I mean, if you're a novice, I don't know exactly how novice you are, but if you're just being modest about your skill level because you're a hobbyist and you never tried doing it for work, you can try to do a job interview. You can also try to do some of these mock job interview programming problems and things like that. See how they feel, and if they feel like completely undoable, then like there are tons of tutorials or courses or websites where you can practice these types of problems until you get confident enough at solving stuff like that. But it really depends. Like, if you want to work with programming, I would say just do more of it and start applying for jobs. Um, that's at least that's what I did, and it worked out for me. I just joined open source projects, try to help out where I could, try to work on things that I thought was interesting, and over time, I just accumulated a lot of random experience that together formed a sort of a thing that was valuable on the job marketplace. Um, I realized that that was a bit of a scatterbrained answer, but I hope it made some sense. Uh, Damn it, chat is disappearing on me. Um, let's see, what was Kevin saying? I saw Kevin saying something. Oh shoot, Big Mistake says, longtime lurker here. I talk about Serenity quite a lot to my non-coding friends because of how you foster community and letting contributors follow their own interests instead of having a big plan. Well, hello, longtime lurker. That's funny. You talk to your non-coding friends about Serenity. I wonder how it seems to them. But I do think, indeed, it's very important to let people follow their own interest instead of just having a big plan and telling people what to do and trying to like delegate tasks and responsibilities. I feel like if we can build something while having this kind of personal freedom that everybody has right now, we got to try to hold on to that and build something on top of that, because this is so much fun right now, and we're still so productive. So let's explore this instead of trying to replicate like how somebody else might do it or how a corporation might approach it. Skychip says, by the way, you have a really likable and calm personality. You are a perfect role model for non-programmers too. Well, thank you for saying that. I'm not, I'm not sure if I'm an excellent role model for non-programmers because I am so specifically interested in programming, but um, I guess I can definitely see um, being calm and patient has benefits in basically anything that you try to do. So, um, as far as those personality traits go, I'm happy to broadcast them. But thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. Let's see. Tom says, do you miss working at Apple or a big corporation? Not really. Um, I don't really miss working at Apple, no. There are a lot of things that are awesome about working at a big companies. Um, like the money obviously is really good. Like you get to have um, a strong enough paycheck that you can stop thinking about what stuff costs in the, at least in terms of groceries, gas, rent, stuff like that. Like you're basically like freed from thinking about those kind of things. Um, but it's not nearly as fun as what I do now, and it's not as open-ended, and it's not as exciting. So I don't miss it. The thing that I miss maybe is really educational to be at a big company and be surrounded by so many people who are really good at what they do, like serious professionals. You know, people who have been around for a very long time, all gathered in one place. That's It's hard to come by that anywhere else. Like grouped collections of experts. You can learn a lot from an environment like that, but outside of that and the money, everything else is better where I am now, and I don't care nearly enough about the money to try to go back to making more of it. If I had to sacrifice all of the fun that we're having here. Shamtown was asking, what donation platform is the best for you to receive contributions on? Well, it's all good, but I will say, since you're asking, that GitHub sponsors takes no fees. So it is the the most friendly, I guess, if you want to ensure that as much of what you donate actually ends up in my hand, then GitHub sponsors is zero fees. And Kevin said, got a day job which has me dealing with Google's Manifest version 3. Their docs are an abomination. I felt the need to come here and give a special shout out to Serenity for my sanity. Ah, I've heard about Manifest version 3. I haven't actually looked at it though, other than just the intro page. Maybe I should investigate that, because it might be interesting to build extension support for our browser. Oh, look at that. We're getting some kind of spam. Wow, look at that. I'm just gonna wait and see if that gets nuked by itself. But let me scroll back. All right, Vishnu was saying, you have inspired me to keep working on my project after work hours. I tried recording myself working on my project, but had to clean up / refactor after the recording. Is it the same for you? So not really. In the beginning, when I started making videos, they were very sloppy, but you can go and see them on my YouTube channel. I put, like, the earliest videos I have, they're still there. Like, you can see how I was like when I started recording. I'm very uncomfortable, very clumsy, and I get tripped up and stuck on tiny things. But I left it all in there anyway, and over time I just got better at it, more comfortable. I wouldn't trip up as much, or I wouldn't get so nervous that I couldn't think. And after doing it, 10 times, 20 times, 50, 100 times, and so on, it gets easier, and it gets to the point where you're not even thinking about it anymore. Let's see. Antonio said, do you have merchandise? T-shirts, mugs, etc.? Sure. Just go to store.serenityos.org and you will find. I will put it in the chat. I hope I typed it correctly. Let's see. Daniel Riley was asking, do you put any thought into ergonomics? If so, do you have anything that has worked for you over the years that others might find helpful? Nicer monitor, chair, etc.? Not really. My main thought that I put into ergonomics is to go to the gym and train my body so that I am not weak and fragile, I guess. And I've never had really an office ergonomics problem. So I don't know if it's because I try to stay healthy and strong, but I like to imagine that at least it helps. But maybe I'm just lucky. I don't know. So I can't really comment. But I don't do anything in particular for ergonomics, and I've never had a problem. We had a super chat from Jorge, who says, hi, Andreas. Glad I could catch the live stream this week. can you talk a little bit about the state of audio in Serenity? Sure. Uh, the state of audio. So we have, at the moment, we have one hardware driver. It's AC97, and it was we used to have only Sound Blaster 16, but that has been removed, and now we have AC97 instead. There has been some talk about also doing an Intel HDA or HD audio driver, but AC97 is where it's at. And the way currently that we do audio is that we have a user space mixing service called Audio Server. And the idea is that multiple programs can play audio simultaneously, and they all just stream what they want to play to Audio Server, and then there's a thread in Audio Server that mixes together the streams and spits it out to the device. But it's not something that I have personally worked on for a very long time. Kleines Filmröllchen has been doing a bunch of stuff on this, and I don't know if he's here, but you can definitely find him on Discord. He's very active, and he has a bunch of work ongoing in the area of audio because he wanted to build a digital audio workstation on Serenity. So that's definitely the person to talk to, or really anybody in the audio channel, I suppose, because there are a couple of people who are interested in audio. So join the audio channel on Discord, and you can learn more there for sure. And then let me backtrack a little bit again. Let's see. Andrew Castor was asking, how do you motivate yourself to do tasks that feel like busy work when you would rather work on things that challenge you? That is a great question. I guess I just try to do them a little bit at a time, incrementally. Whenever I have something that is busy work, I try to find a way that I can do the smallest part of it possible that's still like an atomic unit of work. And if I really don't want to do my busy work, I try to do like one of those units at least, and then go back to what I want to do. Because as long as I'm chipping away at the boring busy work, then just you start to get this feeling of progress on it. And that feeling of progress eventually makes it easier to put in a little bit more time to chip away at it again. That is really my strategy, and it's currently I'm doing that with my taxes and accounting stuff. It's super tedious compared to like all the programming things that I want to do, but if I just chip away a little bit at it and do like a little bit of reporting, a little bit of spreadsheeting, then eventually it all adds up to a finished set of busy work. So I guess that's my tip, is to try to split out into tiny chunks that you can do, and just do a little bit here and there. That's that. R. Lee was asking, where do you draw the line between things you'd rather implement yourself, implement from scratch, and things you'd rather port over? I guess I don't really draw any particular line. It's just, in practical terms, the line that ended up happening in Serenity is that stuff that we use to build the system, it's okay to use external tools for now. So we use like CMake, GCC, or Clang. We use Git and so on. But that's not to say that those are permanent things. It's just that it would be impractical to build the project if we first had to build version control, and then we had to make a compiler so we can compile our version control software and so on. So we've made a compromise where we allow ourselves to use some external functionality for the purpose of building the system, but everything at runtime. So when the system is booted, there's no dependency on third-party stuff. But who knows? You know, in the future, it's entirely likely that we will substitute these things with our own implementations, but we'll see. Andrew was asking, how did working at Apple affect you in terms of skill set? I guess it dramatically grew my skill set in every direction. I had a chance to work with a lot of people who were much better at programming than I was, much more knowledgeable about browsers and graphics and operating systems and CPUs and memory and everything. And not necessarily that there was like that one person who knew everything better than me, but just being exposed to all these experts who were an expert at something and they were so knowledgeable about it that they could talk endlessly about something. And being in that environment for a while, or for years, really opened up my eyes to just how little I know and how much you can learn. And it gave me this kind of respect for the field of computer science, I guess, or the field of programming, as one where you have to accept that you are always going to be learning and you'll never know everything. So there's a kind of, I guess I developed a kind of humility towards programming, which I think serves me pretty well. I definitely, like before I worked in those bigger companies, I used to think that I was pretty good at programming and I was pretty knowledgeable, but that I don't know. It was a humbling experience, let's say. All right, let me try to catch up here. And I'm sorry if I'm missing questions. I know I'm missing even more than usual today. It's just I don't have the greatest setup here, but I'm doing my best. Um, let's see, where are we? Oh, damn it. Shoal was asking, is that cup huge or is it just closer to the camera? It's just an optical illusion. No, it is actually pretty large. Let's see. Abhishek was asking, do you have any advice on how to not panic when getting stuck with programming problems? I had an interview and I panicked because I couldn't implement a feature. Last read message for a chat app. Well, I guess my advice for anybody who's in a programming interview and you're panicking or you don't know what to do is to talk to the interviewer and and try to make something, anything that might achieve what it is you're supposed to do, even if it's the stupidest, ugliest thing that you would never ship or never want to show anybody. Do it anyway, you know, because programming is not about initially knowing the perfect solution to every problem that comes your way, right? Programming is a process, an incremental process where we sort of discover solutions to problems by iterating. And when I'm interviewing somebody for a job, what I'm looking for is not, has this person memorized every possible solution to these types of problems, or that's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is like, can this person solve an arbitrary problem if I put it in front of them? And if you just start talking about like, well, here's, I guess, what we could do in a really crappy way with I just make a little PHP page that does this, and I just store that information in a file and whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be fancy at all. Just show them that you can come up with anything, like a really crappy solution that would get the job done, and like lower your quality barrier, I guess. Just make something really crappy, because once you do that, it's going to become immediately easier to try to improve it, because you tell them your crappy solution and then they'll say like, okay, well, how can we improve that, right? At least that's what I would ask if I were interviewing you and you told me a really crappy solution. I would say like, okay, that would work, but that doesn't sound super great, so what could we do better? And it's so much easier to come back up from that hole once you establish that you can do something that works. And now it's more about like improving on it. That would be my tip. Of course, if you're like completely blanking and not able to come up with even a crappy solution, then I don't know. I suspect that you might want to go back to the drawing board a little bit and focus on developing your CS fundamentals and getting more comfortable with the basics of whatever field you're trying to get into. And then Undefined was joining the Golden Yak Herd. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. Let's see. Tom is asking, is your lotus position comfortable? I can't manage it for too long. It's perfectly fine. Thanks for asking. Void Pointer says, hello, just coming by to greet you. Have a nice day. I unfortunately don't have time right now to stay on the stream. Nice of you to come by and say hi. Regardless, very nice. Let's see. Devashish says, you look 2 years younger than me. What cream? It's the cream of not going outside too much, I guess. Recently, I have not been outside super much in the last month. I have to admit, I was working on Acid 3 throughout most of the daylight. Only going out at night to get groceries. But I guess in general, like I haven't spent too much time in the sun, and it seems to me that the number one thing that makes you look older is your skin getting sun damage. But I'm not really a big knowledgeable person about this, so don't quote me on that. But that's my observation, I guess. It seems to be something that really screws you up, age look wise. Vishnu is asking, how was your interview at Apple? My interview at Apple, that was pretty okay, I guess. It was intimidating at first, but I did okay. I actually have some YouTube or a YouTube video talking about that Apple interview. I will link that in the chat in case you want to know more about it, because it's a lengthy topic. So let me go ahead and paste that. Let's see. But it was okay. I went twice to interview at Apple. And I didn't understand why I had to go twice. They didn't tell me, but I went twice, and then I got hired. And then, I don't know, 6 months later I started, but I think I talk about that in the video. Let's see, Alex was asking, what time sources have you considered using for Serenity? I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, what time sources. You mean like what part of the computer, like which chip? Because at the moment we're using the HPET. Fred was asking, what do you think about salmiakki? I'm not a huge fan of salmiakki. I have to admit, it's a very unpleasant flavor. I have a friend who loves it, but I don't really get it. DJ Wisdom says, hi Andreas, how would you compare the feeling you got when you started doing SerenityOS 100% versus browser getting 100% on Acid 3? Good question. It was like starting to do SerenityOS 100% full time and quitting my day job. That was kind of a nervous thing to do. That was like dominated by me being nervous about quitting my job and taking this big leap and not knowing how this is going to work and everything. Whereas getting 100% on Acid 3, that was just exciting and fun, and the culmination of a couple of weeks of effort that a bunch of us put into getting the browser to pass the test. So there's a pretty big difference. One was very nerve-wracking and the other was very exciting. Let's see, Wycombe Boomer says, there's no sun in Sweden during the winter. Consequently, we never age. Aha, telling our secrets. The Leaders League says, well, hello, Andreas. Did you that Haiku's browser web positive did pass the acid test in the past? How is your day? My day is good. I would assume that Haiku's browser would have passed the acid test, but what engine is it based on? Let's look it up. Web positive. That's WebKit. So of course it's passing acid 3. That's not really, doesn't really tell us anything. WebKit was passing acid 3, I think in, I don't know, 2008 or 2009 or something like that, right? Like quite soon after the test came out, I remember that the WebKit people, that was before I started at WebKit, so, but I was still following the blog, Surf and Safari back then, and I remember them working on that. Ignacio says, hi Andreas, big fan of your work. What would you recommend for someone that wants to get into compilers? Cheers from Argentina. Well, hello Argentina. I have absolutely no idea what you should do if you want to get into compilers because I haven't really been into compilers myself, but I would guess I would recommend writing a compiler and then maybe working on compilers with others. In general, that's the advice I have for anything that you want to do with more advanced programming subjects, to just go and participate in open source projects that are relevant to your interest. So if you want to work on compilers or get into them, try to do some work on LLVM or Clang or GCC or rustc or Zig or whatever compiler you're interested in. Just work on one of them and learn from the people who are there. Tom says, you probably answer this a lot, but are you bilingual? Your English is very good. Yes, I am bilingual. I also speak Swedish, but I don't do that when I'm streaming because I have a primarily non-Swedish audience. Michaela says, what do you think about suslang? Well, it seems like a reasonable approach to consolidating efforts. I only saw the announcement earlier today. Where was it? Sus context free, right? Had the YouTube thing. I'm gonna have to find the link for that. Context free. Yeah, here it is. Programming Language Designers Unite. Oh, I hope I got the right one. John says, what are your thoughts on games like Human Resource Machine, TIS 100, etc. to sharpen programming acumen? I have no idea what those games are. Never played them, never seen them, so don't have a comment. Ali says that reading Zig source is pretty easy to introduct. Yeah, I hear that Zig is... the Zig compiler is apparently quite easy to get into, so that's very cool. Yodabyte says, hello, have you ever tried booting SerenityOS on your own computer? Yes, of course. I have a video on my channel from 2019, I think, when I'm booting it on my own computer. It's something that has been possible for a very long time, but at the moment it's just much more convenient for me to use Linux, so I continue to use that. Eventually I'm going to switch, but not yet. Let's see. Somebody whose name is I guess, says, hi. Due to COVID, I now work part-time at home and I love it. I can now catch sun during work time and do actual work at night. Catching sun is important. Hope you catch enough sun. I guess I would say I don't catch super much sun, but I do I do take a vitamin supplement to make up for it, which is perhaps questionable, but we'll see. I never really enjoyed being in the sun ever in my life. It was always something that um, I try to avoid. And even like ever since childhood, when I go out in the sunlight without sunglasses, then my eyes tear up a bit and it's kind of unpleasant. Maybe that's something that would go away if I did it more often, but I just don't enjoy it so much. Um, it is what it is. Andrew says, thoughts on new M1 Max Ultra chips Apple released and the direction they're heading in where everything is ARM based. No real thoughts, honestly. Um, I don't know enough about that to have an opinion. Atul says, if the world was left with just Emacs and Vim, which side are you choosing? Well, I would probably just use Vim because that's what I'm used to. And I quite like Vim, I guess. It's not as fast as I'm not as fast with Vim as I am with something like the CLion editor, but if I need a command line editor for quick stuff, then Vim is fine. Michaela says, so we'll definitely be porting SerenityOS to SUS then, yeah? Sure, why not? You start. You start and then we'll fill in the rest. Mr. Bonk says, have you considered switching from Discord to Matrix? Yes, I have considered that, and I decided not to. Let's see. Tim says, when do we announce GNU/Gerbert? That's a good question. Not right now, I suppose. I do have perhaps something for later today. We'll see. Vishnu says, what would a language designed by you look like? I don't know. I didn't try to design a language yet, so I don't really know what it might look like. Maybe one day we'll find out. I guess it would probably be object-oriented because that's something I really like for modeling software. And I know it's very trendy right now to hate on object orientation, but it seems to me that it's more of an emotional dislike than anything grounded in actual experience building software. So I'm waiting to see what alternatives come out, of course, but I think if I were to design a language, I would do so with object orientation in mind. Let's see. Christian says, we have seen your wife. Any reason why? Oh, I guess you mean we haven't seen your wife. Well, because my wife is not a programmer, nor does she participate in this SerenityOS project, and that's sort of what I share about my life online. So she's a part of my life, but not one that overlaps with what I do on YouTube. But maybe one day she will be. Who knows? There is an ongoing meme about how there will be a wife reveal at 1 million subscribers. But I think that's quite far away. So I guess let's keep that meme alive and say, sure, there will be a wife reveal at 1 million subscribers. Firefox says, yep, when I studied in Sweden for half a year, I was really surprised seeing vitamin D pills being sold at the checkout of a supermarket. I guess it makes sense, since certain times of the year there isn't a lot of sun in Sweden. Yeah, vitamin D is very, very popular here. Like, you can get it in any supermarket, and I always get it too. It just feels like something that you should have on hand if you don't like going outside so much. Vedang says, have you thought of adding eBPF with JIT in kernel? Especially, it would be great to port Golang and SerenityOS. I have not thought about adding eBPF with JIT in kernel. Dylan says, since you caught up, my question was regarding software testing. What do you think of it? Do you think it's a necessary skill to be a good software engineer? Is the time investment worth? I think it's good to have an understanding of how software testing works and what can be achieved with software testing. What are the limitations and what are the trade-offs and so on. Yeah, it's absolutely good. I got into the field knowing absolutely nothing about testing because I didn't have a formal I didn't have any formal training in computer science. Not that I know actually if you're taught software testing in university, but um, I think software testing is very good, and it's good to understand it, good to have a sense for how to use it to great effect. But it's not it's not the only way to develop software. Like some people insist that software should always be developed um, in lockstep with tests, and I don't agree that that's a very productive way of building stuff. At least that has never been my experience when I tried to do it, so that's not how I work. I rather like to fill in testing afterwards, sort of organically. But there are many different schools of thought. I'm not sure I'm right or wrong about it. So I would just say, just like with any area of programming, like it's good to learn a little bit of everything related to programming so that you can have a general knowledge and be a generalist. Be a generalist at everything related to programming, if that makes sense. Let's see. And Nikolai says that the new programming language should be called Well Hello C. Ah, that's cute. Muxon says, did you know SerenityOS has a Wikipedia page? Yes, I am aware of that. And I've also um, I've also made a very strong decision to not be involved with that. I don't want to touch it or interfere with the Wikipedia process in any way because I know that they are very, very strict about sources and um, quality and stuff, and I just want to respect what they do. And I have also asked that anybody who's like involved with the project that they be either don't participate or be extremely careful when they do participate, because I don't want to mess up the article with the Wikipedia people being angry at us for whatever reason. Because there's a bit of history there that we had a page in the past and it got deleted because of um, notability reasons, and there was some big argument about that. And I don't know. It seems like let's just leave it alone. But I'm not going to tell anybody what to do. So all I will say is that please just be careful because the Wikipedia people are very sensitive. Andrew says 1 million sub cooking stream plus Minecraft stream plus wife reveal. Yes, yes, and yes. All of those, absolutely. Ubiquity says, what are your thoughts on implementing an AI-based resource manager for Serenity? I mean, something that intelligently groups some programs into resource groups. I think Linux needs this as well. We have infinitely simpler problems to solve before we have to worry about using AI to do really anything in Serenity. There are a lot of things that we can improve with very, very simple logic that does not require any kind of neural networks or anything like that. So my thoughts on that are, hold your horses. Let's calm down here and look at what we're really trying to solve and how easy it actually might be. Vedang says, if you were asked to write a book on Pact or somewhere else, it would be great to see Andreas as author, especially on kernel development. I don't know if I could write a book. You know, I can barely get a blog post together. It's so difficult, I feel like, to write anything of length. But I suppose, like anything, it can be learned, right? And it's just an incremental process of pushing yourself and getting out of that discomfort of being bad at something. You know, because whenever you start doing something new that you're not good at yet, you have to tolerate being really shit, because being really shit is just step one, and then eventually you get good, but you have to go through that first. Um, maybe, yeah, I could probably write something if I would go through the shit phase. But there would have to be some kind of motivating reason. Markson says, what is your learning process? How would you approach learning something? I guess I would just start doing it badly, sort of as I was just saying, actually. Just start doing it badly and um, trying to do it more and more until it got less and less bad. Um, it is a fun question. Like, how do you approach learning something? I guess I approach learning something by trying to um, make a crappy version of the thing I'm trying to learn. So, like, when I wanted to build, say, something like the pixel paint program in Serenity, or I wanted to build an IDE, what I started with was just making a tiny GUI that kind of looked and felt like what I imagine an IDE or image editor would look like or would feel like. And then once that was working, then just try to get going and continue on the work and fill in the all the missing stuff that was now there. But just getting started, I guess, is my big trick for learning something new, and tolerate being really bad. Let's see. Vishnu says, you have written an x86 emulator. How did you get started on it? I tried looking into a minimal RISC-V emulator for Linux, but privileged stuff and emulating peripherals is hard. So the very, very first thing I did, I was, I think I was 18 years old, 17 or 18 years old when I wrote an emulator the first time. And what I was doing was I was trying to run DOS programs on Linux. So I basically had like a DOS.com program, and I wanted to execute it on Linux. And I wrote a very, very simple interpreter loop that would just step through x86 instructions in the .com file, and then print out like what instruction am I trying to execute right now, and then I would interpret the instruction and keep doing that until I had an instruction interpreter that could interpret enough instructions to execute my program. And the very first version of that, I didn't actually run DOS, so I just had my own implementation of some of the DOS API. So DOS has like interrupt hex 21 with the various DOS APIs like print string, open file, stuff like that. And I had my own implementation of those things in C that the interpreter would sort of dispatch when it got an interrupt instruction. But I guess what I'm trying to say is the very first thing I would do when writing a new emulator would be to have a very small program for the target architecture or the emulated architecture, and then just try to get that to run, step through it one instruction at a time, and see that the state updates correctly and so on. Vishnu says, which one is better for getting as many eyes, blogs or videos on YouTube? Is it necessary to have both? It is absolutely not necessary to have both. I just happen to do okay on YouTube. I think I somehow found something that works for me here, but it's not at all necessary for everybody to do this. I think it just fits me because it allows me to skip the hard part of writing. Here I can just sit here and be live, and if I say something silly or mess something up, it is what it is, and I have to try to recover. But I get sort of, I guess, editing paralysis when I try to write something because of my ability to edit writing. It just gives me all this reason. Okay, well, this isn't good enough yet. I'm just gonna try a little bit better. I edit this, edit that, and it takes so long to do that. I love the nature of video, where you record something or you stream something and it is what it is. But in terms of like exposure, I guess that's what you were asking about. Like, damn it, I have to scroll back here. To get many eyes, I think it depends. If what you have to show people is highly visual, then video can be a really good format. It's hard to convey um, visually interesting or impressive things in text, but um, at the same time, there are a lot of people who they see a YouTube link and they say like, "Oh, I'm not clicking on that. Like, I don't have time to watch that video." Even if it's like 2-3 minutes, people say, "Ah, no. Is there a blog somewhere where I can read about this? I don't want to. I don't want to watch a video." So if you make videos, you do sort of miss that crowd a lot. Um, a blog post instead. Like I don't have time to watch a 30-40 minute video of you talking about all this stuff. But it is the it is the thing that seems to work for me. So it is what it is. But I think you can do both or either. My only advice really to anybody who wants to get exposure for their project is to do at least one of them. At least do some kind of content about your project if you want to increase its visibility. Don't just sit and push commits to GitHub and expect people to discover it, because that's way less likely than if you actually blog about it or make videos about it or make any kind of content about it. And now I am lagging behind again. Dang it. Let's see. Devashish was saying, if the world was on fire and you could only shave a yak or a cat, which would it be? That is the question. If I can only shave a cat or a yak, I would shave a yak and spare the cat. Tiago said, is there a roadmap for the SerenityOS project? No, none at all. We simply don't have one. Hey Pierce, how's it going? Hey Paul. Adam says, do you see SerenityOS going beyond the desktop, like a mobile or server OS? Perhaps. Who knows? If somebody wants to do something server or mobile oriented with the system, then they are welcome to try to explore that direction. That doesn't mean that will be our focus or my focus, but exploration is definitely encouraged, I would say. It doesn't mean that we'll integrate all of these things in the system, but it's good to stay open to all kinds of ideas, I think. Let's see. Linus was asking if I saw the TC39 April Fool's joke. I don't know that I did. I saw a bunch of like TC39-ish JavaScript-ish people on Twitter giggling about something, but I didn't actually click on it yet. It's probably that. I should find out what that is later. Let's see. Tommy says, open question. I have a bad habit working on a project. I get it near completion, then I'm scrapping it because I find it got hard to maintain. Where did I go wrong? I guess you went wrong because you thought that it was going to be easy, or you thought that you would be finished sooner than you were. So you had unrealistic expectations, and that's what made you frustrated. If you have a project that's going to take a long time, you need to be realistic about that and understand that it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a lot of work. And when you go into something knowing that it's going to take a long time, it's way less, and that is way less surprising and less painful when you learn that indeed it takes a long time. But I don't know what your project was or the specifics or why it was difficult, but in general, that's something that that I had great success with Serenity. Like I knew from early on that this is going to take years and years and years to get it to where I want it to be, and having started with that perspective just allowed me to not get frustrated or not get demotivated when things took a long time to happen. So yeah, that's what I would say. Like you probably had like a little unrealistic expectations about the rate of progress that you're going to see. Muxon says, if a woodchuck could chuck wood, as much wood as a woodchuck could chuck, if a woodchuck could chuck wood. That's not even a question, dude. Shamtown84 says, how old are you? I am 37, I think. Yes, 37. I don't often think about how old I am. Every time I do, I have to, I sort of panic and I realize, shit, I have to do arithmetic. How old am I? Well, I was born in 85, and then, what year is it now? But yeah, 37. Chihiro says, so today you decided to not stream from basement. Great to have such a choice. Aha. Indeed. So usually I stream from my closet, but today I'm streaming from my mom's house. This is, I talked about it early in the stream, but basically I'm at my mom's house, cat sitting, taking care of her cat while my mom is traveling. So gives me a chance to spend some time with the cat. And I figured I would stream from here. That's why things are a little bit different. Mitchell said, damn it, right when it scrolled off. Mitchell said, I believe you have spoken before about how you try to not to use motivation, instead you use habits. On that note, do you work standard hours, like 8 to 5 or something similar that's repeated daily? Kind of. So not 8 to 5, but rather I usually get up at 10 or so, and I tend to work maybe 3-4 hours in the morning, and then I have a long gap in the middle of the day when I hang out with my wife and we do stuff together, and then I go back to work and towards the afternoon, and then work through the evening and the night. That's sort of my daily routine at the moment. But yes, I do stick to an identical pattern almost every day, unless there's some external thing that forces me to do something differently. Joel was asking, is there any interesting audio work currently ongoing in the system? Yes, there is some interesting stuff. I would definitely recommend joining the audio channel on Discord and chatting with the people there. They have some interesting stuff going on. They want to turn the piano application into a digital audio workstation. And if that sounds interesting to you, you might enjoy participating. Linus says that it's a new stage 5 proposal from Yulia. That sounds fascinating. I guess I should click on that just to see what it says. TC39 has moved APL language syntax in JavaScript to stage 5. Oh yeah, all right. APL language syntax. Tiago says, any plans on a more consistent video schedule? Nope, no plans, not really. I don't have plans one way or the other. It is what it is. The last couple of weeks, I just spent them working on the ACID 3 test. So I decided to not make videos and just focus on the test. Now that that's done, I'm going to start going back to making some videos about stuff. But I really, really believe that my videos are better because I decide to only make them when I have something I really want to show you, or something that I think is really interesting that I want to share, instead of forcing myself to make videos just because, oh, I need to make X amount of videos this week. That's not to say that people who do that are doing anything wrong. It's just that I want my videos to have that like enthusiastic vibe that you see in them, because I decided to only make videos when I was in that good mood. So that's why there isn't really a schedule to it. But I do have the commitment of the weekly streams, of course, the SerenityOS office hours, which you're watching right now. And we do have the monthly updates at the end of every month. But when it comes to the hacking videos, I'm gonna keep making them when I get that good vibe and I wanna show you something. And I have a whole bunch of things that I want to show people. So there are definitely videos coming up, but I don't know when. Just soon. Let's see. Håkan says, what's your take regarding quantum-proof crypto now when elliptic curve is vulnerable about Schur algorithm? I have absolutely no take about that because I am not nearly familiar enough with the field to have any kind of sophisticated opinion, let's just say. So whatever I say, it's going to sound dumb, so I'll just be quiet. Luke says, what tools have you learned to use that really leveled you up as a developer? I guess a tool that I find really accelerates you as a developer is Git. Like learning how to use Git beyond just the basics, right? Learning how to work with branches locally, learning how to stage commits and like learning how good commit hygiene habits like atomic commits and stuff like that. And learning how to rebase, how to do all that stuff. Just becoming more than just a basic user of Git, I would say is probably the most powerful thing you can do if you haven't already, in terms of like general development tool level up. And then after Git or whatever version control you're using, I would say also getting better at your editor. So whatever editor you're using, it doesn't really matter in my opinion, but just don't be a basic editor user. Like learn more about it. Be intermediate or advanced with your editor, because I guarantee you that your editor can do stuff that you don't know that could really benefit you. Just like I know right now that my editor can do lots of things that I haven't discovered yet, and I'm always trying to learn a little bit here and there to improve my use of the editor. I think that's also something. So I guess my answer is not so much like, oh, here's some new tool that you might not know about, but rather the tools that you're already using, learn how to use them well, like get really good at them. Shek says, Andreas, how you gain so much knowledge in programming? You can build entire operating system, game, IDE, browser, UI library, etc. How? I really moved by your sheer knowledge, so can you please give a brief? Well, I learned programming by doing a lot of programming. That's really the answer. Like I've done a lot of programming, and I worked on a lot of different things, and I'm working on a lot of different open source projects and closed source projects, and been doing this for many years. And if you do it for as long as I have, you can very much have a similar skill set. It's really just about doing a lot of it and making sure that you, like when you get really comfortable with something, that you try to do something else to learn more stuff. So don't just stick to the one thing. Hello. Okay. Well, now she wants to sit here. How very nice. Okay. Let's see. Muxon says, how do I get started with creating my own 386 PC emulator? Well, step one is to get the 386 instruction manual and the Intel manual basically for the CPU that you want to emulate, and familiarize yourself with the general architecture, like the instruction format, the various hardware registers and so on. And then once you know that, then start to sketch out sort of the data structures needed to hold the state of a running emulated CPU, and then implement some basic instruction interpreter. Take it from there. Let's see. Ecoptic says, are you a cat or a dog person, or a cat dog person? Honestly, I am a cat person. But it might be a little bit biased because I currently have a cat and I also hang out with my mom's cat, but I've had a dog in the past. It's just a recency bias, I guess. I'm just just an animal-friendly person in general, I guess I would say. I really like having animals around. I feel like they um, they add this thing to your life that you feel so nice when they're around, and they give you sort of a reason to stop and just enjoy the moment because they want to be petted, and then you have to sit and just pet. And if you try to play on your phone or something when they want you to be with them, then they will sit on your phone. And I don't know. I feel like that's really good for me at least. It's good to have animal friends. I've I've had some kind of animal friends for most of my life, starting at age 6 when we got a cat for the first time. Let's see. The Marvin says that the cat is adorable. See that, Kiara? They like you. Huh? All right. I don't know where she wants to go. Okay, she wants to sit over here. Sure. Mr. Kevlebon says, I see Cat Dog has come to life. Indeed. Tiago says, what about kids then? Well, I don't have any kids. I do have nephews. I have 3 nephews now. They're very small. The oldest one is 6.5. And they are awesome, but I don't have any kids of my own at the moment. Who knows what happens in the future, but that's where things are right now. Jean-Michel, welcome to the Yak Herd. Thank you very much for supporting the YouTube channel and getting that gold yak. Really appreciate it. Desert Fish says that they are allergic to most pets. That is sad. That is very sad indeed. I had a friend who was super allergic to cats and dogs, and then she got a dog anyway, and it was a bit rough. So it seems very unfortunate if you have these allergies. Then I really hope that somebody could come up with some kind of I don't know, medical solution or something that allows you to play freely with cats and dogs. But I don't know at all what the state of that type of research is these days. Anyway, Dead Rubyroid says, where do you see SerenityOS in the future? Could it be a daily driver that can compete with Linux-based systems? Who knows? I don't really think about that. Let's see. Ione says, hi, I have an opportunity to move to Denmark for a new job, and I recall you said you relocated for your Apple job. Is that something you recommend? Well, I guess it depends on where you are now and if you want to live in Denmark. But it's probably cool. I mean, it's hard to say without any specifics. I enjoyed relocating for work the couple of times that I did it. It gave me an opportunity to live in another country, engage with new culture, learn all about new places, and meet people that I would never have met otherwise. It was a very enriching experience that taught me a lot about everything, and it made me a much more comfortable person, I guess I would say. So I do recommend it if you are interested. If you're apprehensive about it, I wouldn't maybe not recommend it, but ultimately, like, if you want to do it or not. But I had a good experience relocating. I relocated multiple times, and it was cool every time. Big Smoke CIC says, is this on my end or is the audio a bit quiet? It's very likely a little bit quiet today because of my crappy setup. I'm streaming from my phone at my mom's house, so I don't have any of my usual stuff. But we're making it work, hopefully. Desert Fish says that the cat is busy making a hairball. Indeed. She makes pretty nasty hairballs, this one. And then then she leaves them somewhere. hopefully outside, but sometimes inside. Darius says, have you played around with the Nim language? No, I have not. I've seen somebody writing Nim on Twitch once. That is my only real exposure to it. Miles says, you can get special dogs that are hypoallergenic that are slightly better for people with allergies. That's pretty cool. Oh, hello. All right, what do you want? Okay, it's a little unclear. She's trying to tell me something. Okay, just adjusting. Let's see. That's cool that you can get a hypoallergenic dog. I had a hypoallergenic, is that how you say it? Hypoallergenic? I had a hypoallergenic pillow at one point. Did not know you could get a hypoallergenic dog. Very cool. Ecoptic says, what phone? It is an iPhone 12 mini, I think. I had a friend get it for me last year from Apple, and it was already outdated then, so but the price was okay. Oh, we're getting some spam again. Look at that. I guess that means we're in the big leagues now. We're getting getting crappy spam. Thank you, Linus, for nuking the spam. Devashish says, this is out of nowhere, but did you not need a visa or something to relocate to the US? Was degree an issue there? Yeah, I needed a visa, so that was an issue. I couldn't actually move directly to the US originally, so I got the job in the US while living in Norway. And I didn't need a visa to go to Norway because you don't need that if you're from Sweden. But to go to the US, I needed a visa. And I don't have a degree, so I couldn't get an H1 visa. But I could get an L1 visa if I had been employed by Apple for a year. And in order to facilitate that requirement, I ended up being hired by Apple in Ireland. So I had to move from Norway to Ireland, which is okay. That did not necessitate a visa because I'm a Swedish citizen, so I could move to an EU country. And then I was working for Apple Ireland for, I think I ended up working there almost 2 years before actually getting the visa to go to the US. And then I could qualify for an L1, which is an intra-company transfer visa rather than an H1 visa, which is the one people typically get, but I couldn't. Yeah, getting into the US is obviously complicated if you are from anywhere but the US. They make it a bit difficult. At least it feels to me like it's easier to go anywhere but the US. At the same time, I haven't tried to go to so many places. I've lived in like a couple of different countries, worked in a couple of different countries, but the US was the only one that was hard to get into. Mitchell says, have you ever learned to solve the Rubik's Cube? It's a hobby I picked up during quarantine and I think it's quite enjoyable. If not, do you have any puzzle hobbies like that? I have tried. I haven't learned cubing, but I've tried it. My wife is a big fan of the inventor of the Rubik's Cube. And we were actually giving other Rubik toys to my nephews as Christmas presents and stuff. But I guess I don't really have any big puzzle hobbies. I just like to do programming. Let's see. Knut says that cats are very good at fuzzing input. Fuzzing input, yes, I suppose they are. Let's see. Sam Dev says, did you check filters for Stack Overflow? I think it's neat. Yes, I did see the silly filters on Stack Overflow today. Very goofy. Farhan says, Live Overflow says highly about you. What are your views on him? I have nothing but good things to say about Live Overflow. I think Live Overflow makes very nice, very educational content, very good videos about um, like different aspects of information security and hacking. And I think he obviously targets like a broader audience than I do. So he does content that is educational for even for beginners. And um, that means that like some of it, like I watch some of his stuff and it's like, okay, well, this is very simple and it's not really for me. But I think in general, he makes really good stuff. And it seems to me that he's made a big difference in actually like educating and getting people interested about software security. So I think that's fantastic. Um, I guess that's what I think about Live Overflow. Um, let's see. James says, any tips to speed up Serenity build times? It seems to take a lot longer on my machine than yours. It could just be CPU performance. Um, the main tip I guess I have is to make sure you have Ccache. So if you don't have Ccache, make sure you install Ccache because that will cache your compilation results. I don't have like the fastest machine in the world, but I also don't have a terrible machine. It is pretty fast, but there are people who tell us on Discord sometimes that like, oh, I'm just compiling this on my 64 core machine or whatever, and they have pretty outrageously fast compile times, and I'm nowhere near that. But get Ccache. Other than that, there isn't really a tangible tip other than, I guess, upgrading your hardware. Of course, there are definitely things we can do to improve the build times, probably by reducing header dependencies. And also, I know that a while ago we did this effort where we made a system so you can compile like only the parts of Serenity that you actually want. So if you don't want the spreadsheet application, for example, you can configure it somehow that you don't build it. I never actually used this feature myself, but it is there in theory. You should be able to compile out things that you don't want, and that should give you a faster rebuild time. It's called components or something like that. I need to figure out how that works actually, and maybe even start using it, because I guess I could save myself some time. Inquire on Discord about it. Like somebody there will know. I think it's called components or CMake components or something. George says, is SerenityOS supporting big endian systems? If not, are there plans to support them? I guess in theory we would support big endian systems. There isn't really anything preventing it. There are probably going to be some little bugs because we haven't tried it on a big endian system. But there isn't anything fundamentally little endian about Serenity. We should be able to work on a big endian machine if you just try it out and iron out whatever bugs pop up. Oh, and then people are saying that they found my channel because of Live Overflow. Well, that's very nice. I super appreciate what Live Overflow did when he linked to my channel, and he made a bunch of videos about Serenity, about this exploit that we had for Serenity, or that they had, and he also he invited me to speak briefly in a segment on his channel, which I enjoyed. So I'm nothing but grateful to him for the exposure and for bringing people here. And you're still here, so that's freaking amazing. Really happy about that. Let's see. Green Coder says, can you give an advice on not getting tunnel vision when programming? Not getting tunnel vision. Well, I guess it depends, because there's good tunnel vision and bad tunnel vision. If you're like tunnel visioning on the thing that you're actually trying to achieve, that's good tunnel vision. If you tunnel vision on something that is unimportant, but you can't let go, that's bad tunnel vision. And maybe it's the first step is to learn to recognize which is which. And as long as you have good tunnel vision, you kind of want to focus on pushing away distractions that would distract you from the good tunnel vision. But if you have bad tunnel vision, you have to, at the same time, get into this habit of whenever you have a moment to evaluate what you're doing, and if it's really what you should be doing, um, to just take that little moment every now and then to just think, am I doing the thing right now that brings me forward towards the goal I'm trying to actually achieve? Or am I off in the weeds tunnel visioning on something unimportant? It can be hard with stuff like that, especially if you are tunnel visioning on something unimportant but really fun or really interesting, but ultimately like nonsense. Sometimes you just want to do that anyway. And I get that. I mean, that happens to me too. But I try to be disciplined about pushing that away. And if you watch my videos when I'm programming, you often hear me verbalize that process when I say, like, okay, well, let's not get distracted by this, or let's ignore that for now. That's just me like mentally pushing away something that's kind of interesting, that's kind of tempting, but ultimately is not aligned with the goal I'm really trying to get to. And I think that anybody can do that. It's a matter of just periodically reevaluating what it is that you're really doing with your time. Let's see. None asks if I've ever used CouchDB. I have not used CouchDB. Let's see. SamDev says, what are your views on Fuchsia and its internals? Well, I haven't really messed around with Fuchsia much. I did see a video of Adam and Eric, Adam Barth and Eric Seidel. They were talking about some of the capabilities in Fuchsia, and Adam was showing off how some stuff works, and it looked kind of neat, kind of interesting. They have a YouTube channel called Rubber Duck Engineering. It's pretty good. Let me link you to that. I don't know if it's Adam or Eric's channel, but they make these interesting videos where there's two guys just talking about different programming topics, and one of them is an engineer on the Fuchsia team, and the other guy is on the Flutter team, I think. And they both used to work on WebKit back in the day. That's why I know them. But I definitely recommend their channel. It's quite interesting. Let's see. Linus says, very much like the different format today. You don't need to share a computer screen to make this work. Yeah, I guess not. I'm glad to hear that, that it works out despite the ad hoc nature of it. Thank you for saying that. And Linus, by the way, thank you yesterday. I'm so glad that Linus was around to help out with the monthly update video yesterday, because I was so silly tired. Making the monthly video, that was the hardest one I've ever made, because I was so dang tired from the Acid 3 stuff, and just trying to calm down and collect myself and get back on track. So I'm really glad that Linus was there to talk about the browser and JavaScript and stuff in the video, and I think it turned out good. Like, he really saved it, so super appreciate that. And while I am complimenting Linus, let me also remind everybody that you should hashtag subscribe to Linus if you haven't already, because Linus is also on YouTube, and Linus makes programming videos about SerenityOS recently. Check them out. Let's see. Big Smoke says, do you ever put any conscious effort into memorizing API you use frequently? Or do you always do a quick search / Google every time you need something? I don't normally memorize API except accidentally, I guess. I mean, I don't make any conscious effort to really memorize APIs. It's more like when you use an API 100 times, you sort of remember it. other than that, though, like I tend to rely on the autocomplete function of my editor. So um, we have a fairly consistent naming style in Serenity, which makes it quite easy because you can sort of guess what something is going to be called, and you type the first couple of letters, and then you hit autocomplete, and more often than not, something sensible pops up, and then you just say like, okay, I want that, and then it also tells you the names of the arguments and or parameters, and then you can just pass those as you go. Um, Big Smoke says, I'm a relatively slow programmer, and I wonder if this is a worthwhile avenue to improve programming speed. Oh, well, I don't know. If you feel like it would help you, like if this is something that's currently slowing you down, that you have to go and actually Google APIs that you want to use, and um, you find that it sort of takes you out of the flow that like, oh, how do I use memcopy? I have to go to Google and search for memcopy. I guess that does sound like a kind of a disruptive workflow. So if you have problems like that, then yeah, try like memorizing it with I don't know, like flashcards or something like that. You could also get into the habit of using command line tools to look up APIs, at least if you're talking about libc APIs, like because then they all have man pages, you know. So if it's memcopy, you can type man memcopy and it'll tell you about it. But of course, if you're talking about random libraries APIs, then it's more likely that you might have to look up documentation on Google. So I don't know. But maybe all of that is kind of silly if you're not using an IDE with autocomplete in the first place. So if you're not using an IDE with autocomplete and you find yourself struggling to remember APIs, then my first recommendation is to use an editor or IDE with autocomplete. It's a game changer. Let's see. Static says, I watch them, Adam and Eric, weekly. They stream every Thursday at the same time. Very cool. Yeah, yeah. I should watch that more often. Shamtown says, do you enjoy physically meeting up with other programmers for the fun of it? Not particularly. I like talking to people online. I was never super big on meetups or anything like that. I always get a little bit anxious and feel like I want to be somewhere else after after just a short time. And I don't know. It sort of makes me uncomfortable to be stuck in a social situation for too long. Like I can enjoy something for 30 minutes, but then I want to go home, and then it becomes awkward if everybody else wants it to continue for longer. But who knows? Andrew Castor says, the number of times man2 memcopy appears in my Google results is kind of embarrassing. I always forget the order of source and dest. Come on, Andrew. Same tip for you then. Like maybe try to use the autocomplete function of your editor. Let's see. Dave says, are macros considered bad practice in C++? Coming from other programming languages, they feel wrong. Is it me just obsessing? I don't know if macros are bad practice. I think the thing in C++ is that you can use templates to inform the compiler about what it is that you're doing, and it allows you to do a lot of things with the compiler on your side that C wouldn't let you do. In C, you have to do almost everything generic with macros because C doesn't have generics in the same way that C++ does. So I guess macros in C++ can be a bad practice if you're just using them to do something that you could easily do with templates. But obviously macros are still a valuable feature because there are certain things that you need macros to achieve, or at least you need macros to achieve in a concise way. Let's see. Vishnu says, I like to work on my own project instead of contributing to existing ones because I am too lazy to get to know an existing code base. Am I missing out on anything? What can I do about it? Yes, you are missing out on fantastic experience and learning things from other people and being exposed to new patterns, new ways of thinking, programming techniques, all kinds of stuff. It's programming by yourself is great when you are a complete beginner, just to get yourself off the ground. But once you can do the basics of programming, you really want to try to do it together with others if you want to accelerate your learning, because you can get so much knowledge by doing stuff together with people. That's what I would recommend. All right, so we are closing in on 6 p.m. and I need to get going here. So I'm going to wrap up this office hours. Thank you all very much for coming. This was a little bit of an unusual one, but I think we managed anyway, despite the circumstances. I really appreciate all the questions, all of the Golden Yak memberships, and the super chats and whatnot. And I hope everybody will have a great weekend. If you end up working on SerenityOS this weekend, then please come by the Discord and let us know what you're doing. Share some screenshots or whatever. It's always fun. And Tommy says, bigger mug next time. I still have a lot of tea left. So I'm just going to finish this one. But yeah, I'll see you all next time. So bye.